All right, class. Welcome to another video of mine that I'm going to do for you. Today's tutorial is going to talk about composition and using the viewfinder. So I've set the viewfinder to the same format as the sketchbook you're using, which is 9 by 12, and that will allow us to look through the viewfinder at the same format as your sketchbook. So potentially anything that you see through this viewfinder, which I've rigged through the lens of the phone, could be a drawing. Okay, so I want to talk first about positioning things in the viewfinder. So if we look here, the wall and the floor create a line that is here, and you can play with that line. So the lower that floor line is, the more wall I'm showing, but also the less space in the drawing. If I raise the floor line, you can see how much further forward the floor comes in the drawing, and in turn pushes the wall back. So I'd like you to do one drawing this weekend. I'll go over this again, but I'd like you to do one drawing of this and play around. You can play around with it. So I could do a high floor line, in turn giving me more floor, or I could do a lower line, in turn giving me more ceiling. Okay, you could split it sort of kind of in the center, which is kind of a nice, it's an equal ratio of ceiling to floor, but what happens is the space in the drawing becomes activated. So what many of you are doing is this: you're straightening that floor line out. And what that does is it doesn't really allow space to activate in the drawing, because the distance on this side of the drawing is the same as the distance on this side of the drawing. So already the space of the wall is flat. So I want you to think about this as really the first thing you think about in a drawing is not necessarily the thing you want to draw, but the what's happening with the space around it. And then you can position the things you want to draw around that. So I'm going to give you an example of that. I'm going to move a stool right there. Okay, so when you're setting up for a drawing, I also want you to think about foreground, middle ground, and background. Those are the most essential things that need to happen in a drawing in order to create space. If you think about a foreground, middle ground, background, then you're automatically thinking about the space from the beginning, from the front of the drawing all the way to the back of the drawing. Okay, I really love my foxtail fern, but I'm not going to center it in a drawing. I'm going to show part of it so that it sort of leads out of the background and sort of into the drawing. Okay, so I set this viewfinder up kind of like this. I'm going to play with the light a little bit so you can see in focusing. Bear with me here. There. All right. So something like this, it's pretty simple. You've got a foreground, which would be this red, the top of this red stool. The middle ground, which is about this table, plant, shades, and you can't see it so well, but the outside would be the background. It's the lightest part. But what I like about this are really the angles. If you think about the angles of the sidewalk, you can see over here, mimic this angle and this angle, And then if you want to include a little bit of this, so there's a sort of zigzag of space that goes from the beginning of the drawing, front of the drawing rather, to the back of the drawing, okay? So also in these drawings, I'm looking for a full range of values. So the lightest part of this drawing would be mostly outside. That's where my light source is. The darkest part of the drawing is going to be the face of this table here, because it's away from the lights, most directly away from the light source. And so I'm going to do a tutorial about this drawing, but I want you to notice that, look at this diagonal here. It is directly sort of in the middle, or equal. This space and this space are equal. And so the first thing I would do in this, if I was going to execute this drawing, is get that line right there. That will set me up for basically what is inside and outside. So I'd like to do a tutorial of this drawing for you next. But first, I want to go over a couple of things. So in these drawings, the 3 value studies that I expect you to do this weekend for the beginning of class Monday is, I want these drawings to have a full range of values. I want a foreground, middle ground, background. I want overlapping. I want to be able to look into the drawing. So notice how my drawing is pretty open here, even though I love my foxtail fern plant and this red stool right here. I'm still have an opening in the drawing. And what else? Okay, I guess that's it. Full range of values, overlapping of space, foreground, middle ground, background. Okay, so in the next demo I do for you, I'm going to teach you how to execute this drawing, and we'll begin. All right, stay tuned.